Hello everyone, my name is EVOO and welcome to Cooking with the Koyas. For those of you who are gluten intolerant or know someone who's gluten intolerant, you may have seen the amazing gluten-free bread I made, or you may have seen the amazing gluten-free pizza. And if you haven't, I'll put a link in the description for you. Because today, folks, we're going to expand on that and we are going to make an amazing gluten-free focaccia. Yes, it's going to be amazing. Just because you're gluten intolerant doesn't mean you can't enjoy fantastic bread, pizza, and focaccia. So let's make focaccia right now. So the key, folks, to this recipe is this flour. Same as I used in the bread and the pizza. It's the Caputo Fioreglut gluten-free flour. And I'm going to read to you what it says here right on the package. Okay, let me see here, this side. Okay. Gluten-free flour specifically formulated for people intolerant to gluten. Ingredients: gluten-free wheat starch. Yes, they have figured out how to take the gluten out of the wheat starch. First ingredient, gluten-free wheat starch. Dextrose, maize starch, buckwheat flour, rice starch, psyllium seed fiber, thickener, gar flavoring, and then it says this meets the FDA requirements for gluten-free foods. So there you have it, folks. This flour is the key to fantastic bread, pizza, and focaccia. Okay, so we're going to start off turning on our weigh scale. And yes, it's very important to weigh your ingredients. This takes 500 grams of the Caputo Fioreglut flour. So we're going to weigh 500 grams, which is half of this bag, actually. So, and we want to be accurate. This is going to be actually a high hydration focaccia. Okay, 495 and 97. Ooh, 504. Take a little out. 499, 500. Okay, perfect. So we have 500 grams of our flour, and to that we are going to add 10 grams of active dry yeast or instant yeast. This is equivalent to 2.5 teaspoons. Okay, so we put our yeast in and just mix that in. Okay, now we need our water. Yes, we're going to weigh our water. We need 475 grams of water, which is, like I said, very, very high hydration. So 475. Get that right up there. And 464, 471. Oops, 476. Okay, a little bit much. 475. Okay, now this needs to be warm, so I'm going to put that in the microwave for 20 seconds. Okay, and here we have it. So our 475 grams, basically you want it about 80 degrees in water temperature. So in goes our water. Now, with a spatula. Now, if you have a mixer, by all means, use your mixer. A little bit of olive oil goes a long way. So I'm going to begin by using a spatula, but then eventually we got to use our hands. So with an olive oiled spatula, we're going to mix this flour and water together until it is all incorporated. You want all that flour absorbed by the water. Now, remember, this is a gluten-free focaccia we're making, so it's not going to be the same as the regular dough that you're used to when you're making regular focaccia. Okay, so, and again, it's going to be very, very high hydration. So I'm going to mix that all together. Just keep mixing until everything is absorbed and all the white is completely gone. Okay, that's looking pretty good. Spatula's working great. Okay, so now we're going to add some salt. So in fact here, I have 18 grams of salt, which is equivalent to 2.5 teaspoons of salt. And the reason we're adding the salt now as opposed to earlier is just so it doesn't interfere with the yeast. That's all. Okay, and we're going to add it again. There we go. That's our entire 18 grams of salt has now been added. Mix that in. You can see how wet this dough is. Okay. Again, if you have a mixer, please, by all means, use your mixer. Okay. And now, what I have here is extra virgin olive oil. This is 25 grams, which is equivalent to about 2 tablespoons. And we're going to add that. And if I didn't mention it on the salt was also about 2.5 teaspoons. That's the equivalent to the 18 grams of salt. And to the 25 grams of extra virgin olive oil, it's 2 tablespoons. So we're going to add that in. Get it all in there. There we go. Okay, same thing. Mix it all in, and you want all that olive oil to be absorbed into the dough. So keep working it. Now at this point, you could work this with your hands as well using the pincer method. So, a little bit of olive oil on your hands. And basically you're going to grab the dough, and you can see the oil there, and just kind of squeeze it and work it. Okay, so you're going to want to do this for about 5 minutes. You want it worked very, very good. So again, if you have your mixer, let your mixer run for 5 minutes. If you're going to do it by hand, just do it by hand for 5 minutes. And if you feel any little clumps or clusters, just make sure you break them and get this into a nice smooth dough. Oh, and as you're mixing it, yes, it's going to stick to your hands. Don't worry, just keep mixing. So our dough is all mixed. My hands are clean, back to normal again. But you can see we have a very, very loose dough here. Okay, so what I have here is a 10-inch by 15-inch cookie sheet. And to that, we're going to drizzle olive oil on the bottom. And don't be shy here, because we do not want that focaccia to really stick on the bottom of this pan. So I'm going to olive oil the edges and the bottom rather generously. In fact, I'm going to add just a tad more. There we go. Make sure I get the edges, because we're going to let this proof, folks, right in this pan. Okay, so in fact, the hard work is done. That was it. That bit of mixing, because now all we do is with the spatula, I'm going to take this dough out. Okay, let's remove the dough and put it into our cookie sheet. Okay, we want to make sure we get all the dough out. So I'll just scrape that. There we go. Nice. Then with another spatula, I can just continue to scrape that off. There we go. Okay, so again, with a little bit of olive oil on your spatula, there we go. Spread your dough throughout the pan. It's nice and easy. You could use your hands too. If you want to put some olive oil on your hands and spread it out, you can do that also. I'm just kind of pushing down and moving it over a bit. In fact, I will use my hands. You knew at some point, folks, I'd have to get my hands in there. It just doesn't feel the same without. And this way I can shape it properly too, right? Okay, so the key again is having that olive oil on your hands. Okay, when you're working with this gluten-free dough, olive oil is your best friend. It's my best friend regardless, but as you know, if you've tuned into my channel, I do use a lot of olive oil. All right, so that's pretty good. I'm going to say that's pretty good, folks, right there. Okay. Now, I don't want to overwork it too much, but I will give it some dimples at this point, even though I'm not sure how they're going to. Let's see how they pan out here. It's not the same as regular pizza dough, but I don't want to touch it after. So that's it. What I'm going to do now is cover it, and we're going to let it rest for 2 hours. But at an hour and a half, I'm going to fire up the oven and preheat the oven to 425 so that when we hit the 2 hour mark, it can go in, because you don't want to overproof this either. So we're going to let it rest, covered, for 2 hours. So fast forward 2 hours and let's take a look. Oh, we're looking good, folks. We're looking good. Okay, so let's get a little bit of olive oil. We're going to drizzle on top. Okay. Remember, this is not like your typical focaccia dough, so we're just going to gently brush that olive oil on there. And maybe a tad bit more. Okay. Nice, very, very nice. It rose very nicely, folks. I'm going to say, very nicely. You remember how loose it was? It's firmed up nice too. Okay, now what I like to do is add some oregano. So we're going to sprinkle some oregano on top. And a nice little generous coating of oregano. There we go. I'd say that's pretty good. And the only other topping is going to be a little bit of salt. Okay, that's it, folks. Let's put it in the oven, which has been preheating, by the way, at 425. So we're going to pop that in the oven right now. Okay, so let's get it in the oven. Look at that, it looks nice, doesn't it? Okay, in it goes. So we're going to bake it 35 minutes. 35 minutes, we'll come back. Our focaccia should be just perfect. Okay, our 35-minute timer has gone off, so let's take a look. Oh boy. Yes, that's looking mighty fine. Oh yes. Look at this focaccia. I should say, look at this gluten-free focaccia. Oh my goodness, folks. Gluten-free focaccia. Could you imagine that runny dough that we started with? Sticky, runny. Look how it's turned out. Oh boy. Oh yes. Okay, so let's see if this is sticking. Not at all. Look at that. Not at all sticking to the bottom, and the bottom looks nicely cooked. Absolutely beautiful. Okay, so a little bit of patience, folks. I'm going to let this cool down just a little bit, and then we're going to dig in and I'll show you. We'll take a look and see what the inside looks like. But look how well that's risen. That's absolutely beautiful, folks. Now remember, this is gluten-free. This is not made with your regular flour. This is gluten-free. So, oh yeah. Okay, we're going to let it cool just a little bit and we'll cut into it and I'll show you what it looks like on the inside. And of course, we do the taste test. Oh boy, here we are, folks. It's cool enough to touch. And remember how I said the bottom looked nice? Let's take a look at the bottom. Oh, look at that, folks. You're talking golden. It's golden. Absolutely beautiful. That is one nice focaccia. Okay, so I am dying to cut into this. Gluten-free focaccia. So let's cut right up the middle. I'm going to use a pair of scissors. Oh, it's cutting like this, folks. It's cutting like, I'm going to say, traditional bread. Oh, it's still steaming a bit. Oh, look at this. Just take a look at that. Take a look at that. That is really something. It's nice and it's got beautiful texture. It's got some nice air pockets. Folks, this is the real deal right here. Look at this one. Look at that cut. Oh yeah, this, folks, is worth a photo. Let me grab a photo before I dig in. Oh boy, okay, I gotta keep reminding myself that this is gluten-free. Okay, taste test, folks. Let's cut a nice little piece. Oh yeah, this. That's gonna be a nice little taste test right here. Nice little air pockets on there. Dig right in. Amazing. It has very good texture. It's got great taste, good flavor. You almost wouldn't know that this is gluten-free focaccia. It is that close to the real deal right here, folks. And it's all about that flour. If you make this recipe and you use a different flour and it doesn't turn out, it's because of the flour. The key that I found is that Caputo flour. Oh, you know what? This is unbelievable focaccia. Again, I have to remind myself that this is gluten-free. And you could serve this like you would you could serve it as a bread, cut it up, appetizers. You can open it up, put some cold cuts inside, make a sandwich. Whatever you want to do. It tastes fantastic. Again, I got to remind myself this is gluten-free. For those of you who are gluten intolerant, first we started with the gluten-free bread. I'll put a link down in the description for you. Then we went to gluten-free pizza. I'll put a description for you. And now you've found the gluten-free focaccia. 3 amazing recipes. No more longing for that great bread flavor or taste anymore. Those days are over. Gluten-free people, you found it right here. Thanks for tuning in, wherever you're tuning in from. And thanks for spending time in the kitchen with me today. And as always, folks, until next time, bon appetito. Really tastes like normal focaccia. Unbelievable.